It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. We intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
Good morning, Mev. I really look forward to seeing you every morning now. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Ethernet check. Microphone check. No speed test this morning. Good morning on Twitch. Good morning on Facebook. Good morning on YouTube, or however you're getting it. If it's afternoon by the time you hit the stream, good afternoon to you. What I wanted to do is, just so y'all know, okay, got an orthodontist appointment. I know y'all love when I keep talking about that, right? I got an orthodontist appointment. This is going to be a 30-minute mini stream today. Good morning, Whiskey Neat. Same facade. Y'all on time. I'm on time because I only got 30 minutes. Yeah, so I am like, hair is wet. I got to run out the door. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, good morning. We want to, I teased out what this live stream is going to be about. We're going to catch up on Elsa. Good morning, Debbie on Facebook. We're going to catch up on Elsa real quick, and then we're going to transition into white non-apologies. Like, of course, I'm going to use some national stories and local situation, but yeah, I want to talk about some national things. We talked about the Maria Taylor. No, we didn't. Rachel Nichols thing. And we're going to kind of like compare that to the Brett Bursey statement. It wasn't even an apology, statement that they released from the South Carolina Progressive Network, whatever they call themselves. We're going to just kind of use that as an example. But what I wanted to do, is we don't have that much time. I definitely wanted to make sure that we stayed up on Elsa. All right, let me do this real quick. Boom, boom. I don't know now I know why people on radio have to always clear their throat. The more you talk, for some reason, now, and y'all can hear how tired I am. I got no sleep last night, just broken sleep, so you can hear the sleep. But I'm like, why do you always clear your throat when you start talking like whatnot? All right, so I don't want to go here. I kind of wanted to go to, well, yeah, you know what? We'll go to YouTube. And we'll check out this. This actually posted just like a few minutes ago from WCBD. It's a storm update on Elsa. All right, let it go.
Covered with the very latest on Tropical Storm Elsa. And Josh, what's the latest with the storm?
Right now, we're tracking a tropical storm. This is not a hurricane. Briefly became
a hurricane
yesterday,
right?
or last evening, just to the west of the Florida Peninsula. Now this is getting ready to make landfall just to the northwest of Cedar Key, most likely, or right around Cedar Key within the next hour or two. Notice it's disjointed. Everything's on the east side of it. Most of the west side is fairly dry. That's because of wind shear and dry air that's being pulled into the system. What that means for us is that east side comes right up through here because the storm will actually track west of I-95. Now, we could see an isolated shower or two this morning across the low country and even through the day today.
Y'all
We're going to
get
see
ready.
a few pop-up showers, but most of us are going to be dry. It's not until after dark when we see that increasing potential for heavy rain. By 9 o'clock tonight, we're going to be mostly cloudy. We're going to be watching bands of rain start to move
tonight,
in through the late evening hours, and then the rain really sets in after midnight. And any of these bands, as they move through, could briefly produce some wind gusts of 40 to 45 miles per hour, particularly out toward the water and out on Lake Moultrie. An isolated tornado risk with some of these too. So that's why tonight when you go to bed, I'd make sure that I have multiple ways to receive warnings. The threat is not incredibly high, but it's not zero either. And that window from about midnight tonight through about 7 or 8 in the morning, that's when that would occur. So let's plug in those NOAA weather radios. Those are great to have. If you don't have one, you can pick one of those up at supermarkets. Any big box retailer has them. Local electronic stores, just grab one today. Always good to have. It's kind of like a smoke detector. Download the Storm Team 2 weather app on your smartphone. We will push severe weather notifications to you if you allow that, and also make sure your emergency
bring
alert
in your
system
plants.
notifications are on your smartphone too. Those 3 things will guarantee to wake you up in the middle of the night if a tornado.
Okay, so just wanted to keep you all abreast. So of course tonight, things are going to start ramping up. So just stay safe, stay ahead of it. Trust your your favorite, your preferred news source, whether it's NOAA. I know I'm always on Twitter with storms. I don't. Those have just been my habits since I've relocated from the Philly metro area down here. My preferred way to stay abreast is typically via Twitter. Y'all know I'm a fan of Charleston weather. I know we don't feature Jared's content that much anymore, but I definitely would strongly suggest you follow NOAA, you follow the Charleston NOAA branches, or right here, like, or National Weather Service. I think that's what I meant. The National Weather Service, the Charleston branch or department, and so follow them. This is what I always do. I just go to Twitter because they are able to update either whether it's Jared at Charleston Weather or whether it's one of these major outlets. They're able to update you with maps and whatnot. So stay abreast if you can. I know that's a handheld device, and the homeboy made sure to tell you to get one of those radios. I got one of those from my parents, one of those NOAA radios, but hopefully it won't be a widespread wind or power outages. Hopefully the storm will start breaking up as it comes up to South Carolina. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. But please stay prepared, stay safe, but make sure you check in with Charleston Weather. Make sure you check in with the National Weather Service. Don't take it for granted. Do what you gotta do now. Looks like we're gonna get a lot of moisture. Okay. All right. So I wanted to make sure that we talked about Elsa and track that, but I want to kind of move off that real quickly because again, I gotta be out at 8 o'clock. I wanted to talk about white non-apologies. Let me open up that email. I teased this yesterday before I was out. Before I went to work, I teased out that, the other day, the South Carolina Progressive Network issued a statement. Remember, we dedicated an entire show. Thank y'all for y'all. That's one of my most watched shows in real live across several platforms. So thank you so much for tuning in to listen to what I had to say, and also as I lifted up. More important than what I had to say, lifted up what was being said by Black women trying to steer this conversation about Brett Bursey. And Brett Bursey's had a history of problematic behavior, of inserting himself in Black spaces, acting entitled to Black spaces. It's almost as if he participated in the 60s era protest, the civil rights protest. It's almost as if he did that just so he could boast about his credentials or boast about his time spent there. It's almost like he did, because the way Brett, if you don't know, Brett Bursey runs the South Carolina Progressive Network. He, along with some other Blacks in academia and his outfit, they lead what's called the Majeska Simpkins Schools. You see it right here. I'm going to blow it up a little bit more because it's already huge. It's already huge. How do you okay, so right here, basically, the Majeska Simpkins Schools, again, that's also very complicated with Brett. Brett has laid claim to Majeska Simpkins in a way, to me, is very uncomfortable for me to see. I believe that there's a level of fetishization, there's a level of obsession with Black history, and also how Brett loves to insert himself and center himself within this history, right? He in his own narrative, in his own story, he features himself very prominently, very, very prominently. I don't want to have that shown up there. He features himself very, very prominently in Black history here in South Carolina, and that's really weird to me. And I think this is something I was trying to articulate around the whole rice discussion and around the food cultural appropriation of Black food here in Charleston. We have a tendency here, and this is really difficult conversation to have, especially in mixed company, meaning with white folks, because I do have a profound love and affection for my people, of course, right? Like I don't even need to say that. But from that, part of that is being very disappointed when some folks who have amassed a certain level of influence and power here in Charleston specifically, they've chosen to accommodate whiteness. Not everybody, and I'm not even painting folks with a broad brush, but I do think that this is something that I've seen here in this state more than I've seen in any other state that I've lived in. So I've only lived in 3 states: New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and South Carolina my whole life, right? But there's a culture around accommodating whiteness because there's a fear that if you alienate white folk, and it's a rational fear, if you alienate white folk, then they'll withdraw their support. And what I was mentioning during the previous live stream about this is white folks. I anticipate white folks withdrawing their support. I anticipated it. And if I learned that 2 years ago, I really, really learned it last year following the George Floyd protests and seeing that quick and like just this massive withdrawal of support of my content, supported my messaging. I saw that huge distancing from me because the more they started to listen, they thought it was one thing, and then they found out, oh no, Mika's not an accommodationist, and so they found out that I would require white folks in my gravity, to actually forfeit privilege. I would require that by means of whatever popular or political education that I would espouse or lead a discussion on. Y'all, whatever popular education or anything that I would lead, I'd always make sure that white folks know that this is not about your comfort. This is not about you feeling coming to my platform and receiving some sort of absolution or some sort of like excuse. No, this is about you unpacking your internalized white supremacy, unpacking those tendencies, that anti-Black racism. How do you explore that, right? And I'm no longer interested in teaching allyship. I'm no longer interested in instructing white folks how to be less racist. I've shifted my focus greatly by virtue of what I do for a living, and just as an act of self-preservation outside of work, I've chosen to just center Black folks and Black conversations purely. And when we talk about white supremacy, we talk about it in very real ways, and we indict the things that cause the harm, and we require people to actually address that versus hey, this white person did a good thing like Brett. This white person did a good thing. He hasn't, he's less bad than the white conservatives in the state. So, no, and I think it's important. I know I'm rambling a little bit, y'all, but I think it's important to decenter whiteness almost at every turn, because you get the Bretts if you don't. I guess that's the long way of me saying that if you don't check that shit early on, if you don't make sure that white folks understand what time it is, in terms of like, I am not here to accommodate you. I'm not here to teach you. I'm not your magical Negro. I'm not your comforting Aunt Jemima. I'm not, your Remus or your Rastus figure, right? I'm not a mammy. Once you really write that relationship with whiteness, it changes things drastically. It doesn't make it easier, doesn't make it more comfortable. It's really difficult. It's extraordinarily difficult to navigate a world when you indict white supremacy directly, especially when you have your peers around you that don't do it that way, right? So let's just get to Brett's situation. So Brett issued a statement after Brett, trigger warning, content warning. Brett used the N-word. A white man used the N-word as he was instructing or participating in the Majeska Simpkins school curriculum. He was immediately called out by Black women in South Carolina. Immediately, the women that were in the class, in the virtual class, immediately he was told that was inappropriate. They pushed, he and also other instructors that happened to be Black men, pushed the and some older Black women as well who were attending the class. There was this swift movement to like diminish what Brett did. Oh, because we know Brett's heart. It has nothing to do with Brett's heart. Brett is not entitled to Black pain. Brett is not entitled to every space in the Black, like in the Black. In the Black experience here in South Carolina, and the fact that there's something about pushing back on Brett's that is really tricky here in this state, and I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush, but I find it very difficult to organize because there are folks who feel as if you need white approval, white participation to legitimize your work, and you don't. And like it might be harder. It's definitely harder to hop on a Twitch, right? And to suffer all of these technical difficulties and these glitches, right? Being very grassroots and trying to build something out from scratch with maybe 20 followers watching at one time, maybe 12 followers watching at one time. It's very hard to create these systems, independently. But what I'm trying to model is not perfection. I'm not trying to model a superior type of decision making. I'm just trying to show folks that you can do it without whiteness, without centering whiteness. You can do this. It's harder. It's more of a challenge, but you can do this. And I think when you don't check a Brett, this is what you get. So they concluded the Majestica Simpkins schools, and then they issued this statement. It says, first, with some background, so a white man says the N-word, and instead of just apologizing, because that's literally all you need to do, apologize and then ask how you can help reduce the harm. Apologize and immediately ask, well, what does justice look like? What does it look like to repair the harm? What does reparative justice look like in this specific instance? That's literally all Brett had to do, was like, you're right. I hear you. I hear the Black women in my class. I hear that I obviously was not just 1, 2, 3, 4 people. It were multiple people having this visceral reaction to a white man using that word and feeling entitled because he might have sustained some sort of injury during the civil rights. You're telling a Black person, you're white-splaining to a Black person why they shouldn't be offended by you using that slur, and then not just using it, but then causing harm by dismissing the concerns of Black women, and then going on to create programming to punish the Black participants by making them sit and listen and endure a lecture about how, you want safe spaces and you want things to be sanitized. How dare you? How dare you do that? How dare you tell Black women what is and is not acceptable in terms of that slur? Right? Like, well, how dare you do that? And how dare you try to subject them and lecture to them as if they're children, as if they're not of age, right? You want safe space. No one said that they wanted a sanitized space. They wanted accountability. And so white people, sometimes when white people kind of step into it, like put their foot in their mouth or really just do something egregious and harmful, there's this tendency to center themselves as the victim. And that's what Brett does, essentially. So he wrote this out on July 1st. He talks about the history of the Progressive Network in 2015. It's in the Majestica Simpkins Schools for Human Rights. They linked to it, which is bullshit. We don't even need that. All right. Because of the pandemic, the last 2 sessions of the school were held on Zoom, yada, yada. We're going to skip down. In class 9, where we discuss strategy, tactics, network director and school founder Brett Bursey. I'm pretty sure Brett wrote this himself. Network director, capitalized. Network director and school founder Brett Bursey used a racial epithet. No, you use a racial slur. Yeah, same thing. Racial epithet in recounting an incident that happened in 1969 when a racist, now look at him, when a racist call him an in-lover and then look at they go way into what happened in 69, right? He was assaulted in Columbia Cafe in front of a white police officer. All that is unnecessary. I don't even know if y'all can see it, but all that is just completely unnecessary, right? So he goes on and say, I'm sure Brett wrote this. Like, I'm almost 100% positive Brett wrote this, right? So he's telling you why he used that racial slur. All right. Several students were upset at Brett's language and took it up in the chat. Their concerns were not immediately addressed. At least they admit that, because the hosts and presenters were paying. Oh, no, they don't admit that. Oh, Their concerns were not immediately addressed because the hosts and presenters were paying attention to speakers rather than the chat, and that's a problem. Again, I talked about facilitation 101 last week. You got to learn when you're a facilitator. You're literally you need to have someone on your staff, on your team, moderating every aspect of communication while you're facilitating. Because of that, because if you inadvertently cause harm, you need to stop everything and course correct directly. That's it, period. And so that right there shows that you had multiple people leading this programming, leading this instruction, right? Is it a resume or an apology? Thank you, Whiskey Knee. It's more like a resume to me, right? Exactly that. And that's the thing and that's why I know that's why I know, and I'm gonna say this one more time, and I said it last time. This is why I know that Brett Bursey is a racist. And when I tell you the most harm that's come to me in liberal spaces have come at the hands of white liberals like a Brett Bursey, like what's her face, Meryl Chapman, like a Kat Morgan. These white people make a living off of being in black spaces and being legitimized by black organizations and highfalutin, elected officials and all that. They are legitimized by their proximity to blackness, and they use their proximity to blackness to push out black women, especially black women. They love to challenge black women. When black women speak up to the people like a Kat Morgan or like a Brett Bursey or like a Meryl Chapman, in my experiences, when you speak out against them, they just completely, they start listing off all their bona fides, like their resume here with Brett. They start listing off all the black friends they have or how they always, helped everything. It's the weirdest thing how they all follow the same script. And yeah, I use the R word. I said racist. Absolutely. And the thing is that it sounds alienating or it sounds like, oh, Mika, that's a little harsh. We have to stop thinking that racism is just Klan hoods and burning crosses. We've got to stop doing that. We've got to stop doing that. You know how many racist liberals I have to contend with that? How many anti-black liberals or neoliberals I have to continuously have this conversation with, right? So we have to stop doing that. So he goes on and he admonishes the students, and shout out to many people who sent this to me who had the same reaction to it. Brett, several students were upset at Brett's language and took it up in the chat. We didn't see it because we were focused on it. And you moderate the chat, sweetie bop. I run a giving project. I have one coming up this Saturday. It's 3 of us at Cypress. Typically, 1 or 2 of us are alternating with facilitation, and a third one is watching out for things like tech and it may be even another person watching out for things like the chat. You always have someone else watching, like from the outside of your programming. So they were whack for that. I already said that, but that's just really like in my craw because it's like facilitation 101. Let me see. So when a student finally objected on screen in an indirect manner, I don't even know what that means. The co-hosts and many other students didn't understand what was happening. And that's not true. That's not true either. It's just really bad. For his part, Brett has apologized in class and in the email below that was sent to everybody. So right here, language is powerful. Look at this. So I want to apologize to every student in the session for using language that caused pain and threw the last 2 classes off course. I also apologize to Dr. Green and our guest, Lewis Pitts, for putting them in such an awkward position and making their jobs harder. I am truly sorry. Language is powerful when words matter. And not language is powerful. You as a white man are not entitled to that word. And he will not admit to that. He didn't do it on camera. He didn't do it in that subsequent class. And he didn't do it here. And in this lack of it, I'm going to use this word because it's going to coincide with this next clip I'm going to show. Hey, AJ. Hey, Meek. On Facebook. It's going to coincide with this clip with Rachel Nichols in a second. Like, it lacks specificity. It lacks real thoughtfulness, right? It's really empty. It's very, very empty. And this is something that's a common practice, at least in my experience here in Charleston, a lot. We put up with people like Jen Wright at CFC. I'm just talking about people I've come in contact with that everyone's like, oh, you really should know Jen Wright, or you really should know Kat Morgan, you really should know Meryl Chapman, you really should know Brett Bursey, right? All these people that you really, and then you meet them, they're very anti-black. in my experience. Very anti-black. Jen Wright calls me a bully out of nowhere. She's clocking my posts on social media, and she thinks I'm talking about her. And she calls me, she emails me, and CC's one of my colleagues, not my work colleagues, but one of my FOGC folk. CC's them. Like, so you telling on me to appear like a white woman trying to check what I post, thinking it's about her because you so self-centered. And then when I respond, she calls me a bully. Just like Meryl Chapman called me a bully for just using the term white privilege for her, like it's just crazy. I don't want to go through everything again, but it's just crazy. And then when you challenge it, you see these, like, you start seeing people come out the woodwork and support and oh, you know Brett's a good person. Oh, you know Meryl's a good person. Nah, like, I'm like, what are we doing? I was harmed. Why are we centering her? All right, Meek, you said earlier he is appropriating the Black Civil Rights Movement. Absolutely. AJ, you said racism is a lens in which the ideology is manifested into action. Absolutely. Good morning, friends. Good morning on Facebook. All right. Good morning, Meg. Other Meg on Facebook. All right, so let's get real quick because I got to go to the orthodontist. I got to hop off 30 minutes early. Sorry, y'all. So I want to get to the Rachel Nichols thing. Right. So if you don't know sports, Rachel Nichols, one of my favorite reporters at ESPN, she was caught in a hot mic like a year ago, making a disparaging comment about her colleague, Maria Taylor. I'm a huge fan of Maria Taylor. Ever since, College Game Day, her days with College Game Day, I don't know if she still does it. She's like a Swiss Army knife at ESPN, former volleyball player in college, former collegiate basketball player, beautiful African-American woman, but also more importantly, a really, really good sports journalist, like a really exceptional sports journalist. Y'all know how I got my little, things with sports journalism. Well, anyway, Rachel makes this comment, and I'm gonna break down what Rachel says, that ESPN is under pressure because of, they need more diversity, and that's why Maria got pegged for a certain job that she was promised and she was contractually promised to, and we're gonna point out what the problem was with this. So let's just play the clip
today or distract from.
Let me rewind it. Okay, here we go. Boom, boom.
So the first thing they teach you in journalism school is don't be the story. And I don't plan to break that rule today or distract from a fantastic finals. But I also don't want to let this moment pass without saying how much I respect, how much I value our colleagues here at ESPN, how deeply, deeply sorry I am for disappointing those I hurt, particularly Maria Taylor, and how grateful I am to be part of this outstanding team.
I see you,
well,
AJ.
Rachel, I want to say thank you. Thank you for accepting.
Real quick, I'm not even going to let y'all. So basically, she spoke for about 30 seconds. The timer right here says, at the bottom, says 29 seconds. She spoke for less than 30 seconds. This is a 2-minute and 16-second clip. Now, I don't know what's at the very tail end. Maybe it's some little, I believe it's about 2 minutes long from what I remember, right? You got two black men now. She spoke for 30 seconds. They take up the balance of the time. Not only is this inappropriate, this is exactly what I'm talking about, what I see in Charleston. White person that is down, does a thing, causes harm, and instead of issuing a very specific and a more thoughtful apology, because what would have been appropriate was that she say all she has to say, name the harm she caused, and then I think they should have went to break, came back, and boom. Why would you have two black men out here going out on a limb, stretching their neck out, putting their neck out there, right? They don't have nothing to do with the situation. She was caught on a hot mic talking about, the other parties involved. They had nothing to do with it. But this is what we do here. This is also a common practice here in Charleston, where we trot out either the black clergy or some sort of affable, amiable, accommodating black person to help repair the white person's image. Just like it's like when CVB is trying to now change their image of being anti-black, which they're not. They're still selling you plantations. They're still selling you terrorism at a wedding, right? They're still selling you slavery and bondage. They're still selling you antebellum fantasy. Then they'll run and trying to find black content creators and saying, like, look, we're creating these things. We've got this internship with only 12 students from HBCUs. We're doing all this thing. And, it's activity versus achievement. That's one thing. The other thing is that it doesn't repair the harm. It's all PR and it's all optics. And you need to let that white woman woman stand on her own and stand in that truth, right? And just figure it out. You said they don't even have to try. Who's this? Welcome to the stream. You said white folks on Twitch. You said white folks don't even have to try to still receive full credit. And that's the thing. But this practice right here of having somebody black come bail you out, and black people, this is what I want you to know. CVB, Charleston Wine and Food, all these places that have a problematic history of trafficking and some nonsense or whatever, they are a liability. They need you. So if you do partner with them, you have to actually partner with them in a way that brings about structural changes. Like, stop taking these little penny ante bags. And if you have to understand, if you do partner with them, they are a liability to you. So you have the leverage, and you can actually inform deep and real and meaningful changes that can occur in the city. Don't just opt in to be part of their media campaign, their PR cleanup. Stop being their janitors. Stop being their mammies and their butlers. She right here, Perk, and Richard Jefferson are her janitors, and that's wrong. She spoke for 30 seconds, and then they carried the balance of the time. That's unacceptable and it's inappropriate. I'm gonna close that out because yesterday I filmed this with my phone yesterday and posted this on Twitter. Right? This is exactly. Listen to this, and then I have to bounce and go get my teeth straightened. Listen to this though, y'all.
Of course, we talked about it yesterday. I think it's very important. I think it's important that she said something, that she addressed it. It'll now be interesting to hear what Maria has to say. Yesterday, my thought was, I thought she was really calling ESPN out. Now,
this is the thing about Gayle and Oprah. They're accommodationists, right? So think Tyler Perry, think that Emmanuel Acho dude that makes white people feel really comfortable, right? They really work hard to make white people feel comfortable when talking about things like race. So it's not a surprise to me because Gayle does this all the time. That's why I can't stand Gayle sometimes. I love Gayle, but she get on my nerves when it comes to real issues, right? I love her poise, her professionalism, and her upbeat personality. I love that quirkiness. I hate when she does this thing where she wants to give white people a pass so bad. Instead of just say, hey, stand in that harm for a minute, learn your little lesson for a second, just go ahead and go through this through this fire real quick, right? It's going to be uncomfortable. It should be uncomfortable, right? But Gayle does this thing where she always like, oh, she was really going, you don't gotta save her. Why are you saving her? Stop being white people's janitors and mammies, yo. Just let them stand in the harm that they cause. But look who gets it right though on the show.
Also see from Maria Taylor's point of view.
Oh man. It's coming back. It's YouTube TV.
Well, she's essentially saying that Maria Taylor would not have gotten that job if she were not black.
Right.
So that is an insult. And I think that the apology is noteworthy.
And Maria Taylor is very good at her job, too. We all know that. Well, but go ahead, Tony. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think the apology is noteworthy, but it did lack specificity. I mean, by not pointing out that what she was saying is that Maria would not have gotten the position if not for her skin color. And that line of conversation from white people has like a 200-year history.
Come on, man.
I mean, It's a real grievance issue, and that's why it resonated. That's why it's a problem. And I would have liked to see her address that specifically when she apologized.
Well, the other problem, though, is that she was complaining to LeBron James's advisor. Maria Taylor has to also go and work with LeBron James's advisor. So you have this issue then even at work that she impacted her job. And
I see, I'm a big stickler for that, right? Y'all know I gotta dip in a second, but I'm gonna read these Facebook comments and then I'm gonna dip. All right, let me get to. Thank y'all for chiming in. I know this is a really like high speed, fast whatever live stream today. All right, so basically, okay. Let me see, basically. AJ on Facebook, you say white allies tend to be propped up by social justice spaces. This is done despite black voices being more relevant to the cause and being closer to the issues. Absolutely, right? And then AJ, you went on, certain black men are determined to save a white woman and will go to great lengths to protect the sanctity of white womanhood. And that's real. That's real. Meek, you said, honey, they understand the issue better than Gayle. They do. Joy, you're saying, how can people check their racism if they're always making people feel safe and comfortable? And that's the thing. Brett was accusing the black woman of wanting to be in a sanitized space. Dude, you won't even walk through the fire of accountability. So you can make the argument that you are putting a premium on comfort, on your own comfort. You don't want to be inconvenienced. And I've said this once and I'll say this 1,000 times. if you're white and you want to engage in any type of social justice cause in any type of meaningful way, it will be and it should be very uncomfortable. You're talking about sacrifices. You're talking about not just forfeiting money, because some of y'all like to stroke a check and think that that's it. But when you really start to sacrifice, and that's the thing that Rachel Nichols didn't do. Rachel Nichols was all Black Lives Matter, this and that last year in the bubble, right? Then on that tape, she got caught laughing when the guy said that I'm exhausted between Me Too and Black Lives Matter, right? Oh, she started laughing a little too much. What that shows me is that Rachel, while a fine journalist and someone that I probably continue to watch on some level with a side eye, because I'm all Maria Taylor in, I'm all Malika Andrews in, I'm all over there, right? But what Rachel Nichols did is what is common, is what I've seen myself, which is, oh, I'm all rah-rah and excited about talking about equality, talking about Black Lives Matter, talking about all of this. But when it comes time for me to actually say, you know what? If the company does feel pressure to promote my colleague who's amazing and qualified, if the company does feel that and they feel like that this is not the right, and I'm not saying that ESPN was moving with some sort of like great motive, right? No, but as a white woman and you see that opportunity coming for that Black woman, why immediately diminish her qualifications, or why try to work against or challenge why she was picked? Why try to reduce why she was picked to just being a diversity hire? Like, why, when it comes time for you to actually sacrifice, you don't want to do it. And that's where we run into problems time and time again with this conditional allyship. No one wants to be an accomplice. No one wants to be a co-conspirator, because allyships require you to benefit from some part of the arrangement. Whereas being an accomplice, you ride or die without the expectation of reward, of public recognition, without the promise of any type of benefit. And when we get white folks to start realizing that they just need to do the right thing because they need to do the right thing, because they need to help, they need to dismantle white supremacy. When we start talking like that and stop accommodating white people, stop accommodating white people like Brett Bursey, stop making them feel safe, stop giving them cover, let them walk that. You white and you a white cisgender man in South Carolina. You gonna be all right. You gonna be fine. Take that L, apologize, and then figure out how you can repair the harm that you caused to the Black people who objected to your use of that slur. Period. It's going to be uncomfortable, white folks. Stop looking for us to be your janitor. And to shout out to Nicole Hannah-Jones, who was like, nah, UNC Chapel Hill, nah, I'm good over here. And one thing that Nicole Hannah-Jones said is like, it's not my job to heal UNC, because they really messed up with her, right, by denying her tenure. And I love that she says, I'm not going to go where I'm tolerated. I'm going to go where I'm celebrated, Howard University. And she said, it's not my job, because had she had taken the job after all of that, had she have taken that job at UNC Chapel Hill, after lawsuits, after all that fight, after engaging the Black Student Union on campus, she would have, in essence, been the janitor helping them fix their issue. And also, she would have been sending a message that, hey, you can mistreat me and put me through all of this, and I'm still going to hang around and take the crumbs you offer me, begrudgingly at that. And I'm glad that she said, nah, you know what? I don't even want it no more. I don't even want it no more. You can keep that. You can keep that. We got to start telling the Brett Burseys and I know I named a lot of names, and I probably talked about some of y'all friends. That is what that is. These are people that caused me harm. These are people who did things to me, okay, who called me bully. I wouldn't throw out a name out there if it wasn't serious and it wasn't egregious and it wasn't something that impacted my life greatly. So when I talk about Meryl Chapman and my run-ins with Kat Morgan and Jen Wright, when I talk about these things, it comes from a real place. I didn't do it for salaciousness, but y'all know I don't play either. So we got to stop accommodating these white people when they mess up. Call them out. Call them out. Stop accommodating whiteness. Stop centering whiteness. That's the problem. And if they want to be up in this game right here, if they're really about that Black liberation, if they're really about forfeiting privilege, if they're really about affirming their love for Black lives through action, then they're going to have to lose some things in this. They're going to lose a lot. They're going to lose position. They're going to lose access to prominence. They're going to lose a lot. And they need to listen to black people. Brett won't listen to black people if it's not saying, if it's not saying what he wants to hear. Conditional support. I'm going to withdraw I'm going to call you names. I'm going to say you're too sensitive. I'm going to do conditional. Nah. All right. I appreciate y'all for watching. Tomorrow morning, 7:30, be back. I had to end early because I got to go to the orthodontist. I'm already late. I'll talk to y'all later. Appreciate y'all for watching. I love y'all so much. Thank you for tolerating me with wet, frizzy hair, no makeup. I love y'all for that. All right. Take care. Bye.